Audio good? Is it good? Is it working? Mic's working okay?
All right. Testing. Testing. We're ready to roll?
Sorry. We're not. Try it.
What? Yeah. Testing, testing, testing.
Keep trying.
Testing, testing, testing. That's better. That's better. All right. It is so nice to see your beautiful faces out here today. Louder? Louder?
Sorry.
Ask him, can we go any louder?
Ben, you gotta eat that mic. Get it right in your face.
Got to get a little closer. Ooh, that's better. That's better.
Thank you.
All right, everybody who's talking today, you got to get your face a little closer, I'm told. But I shout a little bit too much anyway, I'm told, on Facebook. No? No? Okay, good. We're good. Guys, thank you so much for coming out today. I am Ben Dorr. I'm the political director for Minnesota Gun Rights. And I see so many of my rowdy friends out there. I see Butch. I see Butch. I see Dave. I see Bill. I love it. Thank you guys. Thank you for coming out today, standing with us and fighting for gun rights. We're going to kick this off with a prayer. I want to introduce Jack Rogers. Jack has been a long-time freedom fighter in Minnesota, a staunch conservative, and a guy who's really been pulling for gun owners and for a lot of other issues against this legislature. He's a long-time lay pastor, and give it up for Jack Rogers. He's going to open us with prayer.
I feel safe. What a feeling. I'll tell you, I'm not going to mention common sense at all. I'm so sick and tired of politicians talking about common sense. And the last one that said, we need common sense here. And I said, if that's the truth, men will have to start riding their horses side saddle. See? I kept that within the range of a pastor's joke. Is that good? Talk into the mic? Very good. Very good. Let's bow our heads for a word of prayer. Gracious, gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather peacefully, to talk, to discuss, and to express our feelings, to protect the liberty of each and every one of your children here and out there and across this great nation. It takes a small group like this that lights the brush fires, that carries the truth to the top of the mountain where all can see it lit. Today we're going to light that brush fire, and we're going to light it for our politicians here, and we're going to do it with the Holy Spirit guiding us. And together, as we are here, we say, Amen. You again?
I just want to say, come on in, come on in, come on in, you guys. You don't have to stand out so far. Crowd in here if you want. Let's let those cameras see the gun owners. We got to have that. Can you hear me? My mouth is pressed right up against this thing. Is this thing working? Somebody talk to the sound guy. I mean, that's about as close as I can get, so let's have a... Give us half a moment. We're going to see if we can get this mic turned up a little bit because my mouth is like pressing on this thing and my wife is not very happy with that, and I don't think so. Well, I think we should say the Pledge of Allegiance. That's what I think. I think we should say the Pledge of Allegiance to our great flag. Too many people in this state get down on their knees. They get down on one knee for the flag. They don't care about America. They don't love patriotism. We're here to show our patriotism, our love for our Second Amendment, our love for our freedom, our love for our country. So let's say the Pledge of Allegiance, everybody. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, we had somebody lined up to sing the national anthem today, but she couldn't make it. So I figured, I see Pat back there. I see Pat and Mesa. Thank you guys for coming out. My friends, this place is full of my friends. I love you guys. I love you guys. So I think that we should just raise the roof, sing the national anthem all together. It's always one person. I think we should all sing it together today. Absolutely. So join me in singing the national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bomb bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the hope of the brave. I love that. Pro-God, pro-2A, pro-liberty. Say no to tyranny. We love it. That's exactly why we are here. We're here. I see a sign up there. Talks about gun grabbers. I see a picture of Scott Jensen. Lion Scott Jensen. Lion Scott, we're going to talk about him. We're going to tell this story in a little bit. I'm going to let a couple other people speak first. I see, where's that sign? Says, you are special, Paul Gazelka. Paul Gazelka. Not good. Not good. Not standing up for gun owners. This is the reason this rally is happening today. It's because we have a major fight on our hands. Our gun rights have never been more in danger. With the votes that we have or don't have in our Minnesota legislature, and Tim Walz, who wants to pass this stuff, aching to pass this stuff, that's why we're here, to fight against this gun control. Look at that. You're all the way up on the 3rd floor up there. How you guys doing up there? Yeah! I love it. I love it. So we're going to start off. Chris, you about ready? All right, let me introduce to you our first speaker today. He's my brother, Chris Dorr. Yeah. He was the founding member of Minnesota Gun Rights, the founding director of Minnesota Gun Rights. He now lives in Ohio, working for Ohio gun owners, fighting tooth and nail against anti-gun legislation in Ohio. But he's still very much involved in Minnesota politics. He's been very, very helpful in exposing anti-gun radicals here. And so give it up for Chris Dorr, my brother.
Well, believe it or not, I am the shortest of the 6 Dorr boys, and I'm 6'1.5". But I liked starting Minnesota Gun Rights so much, I left you in the greatest care that I could possibly get. Can we all please give it up for my brother Ben Dorr, who now leads and directs this organization. That was fantastic. And I'm not quite the orator he is. He gets a routine chances to sit here and speak to you, so I'm not quite as polished as him. But anyway, okay. So you're used to seeing Ben. I'm Chris Dorr. Like he said, I now run Ohio Gun Owners. We had a lot of the same problems that you guys have had here in Ohio, but ours was named John Kasich. John Kasich is a Paul Gazelka in the flesh. He's a rhino's rhino, and he's been trying to cram gun control down Ohio's throat now for a long time, and thank God he just got term limited. But yeah, he's no longer our problem. Now he's America's problem because he's at Clinton News Network. Anyway, this is a Cass Gilbert room and a building, for those of you who didn't know that. And I just got to tell you, when I was listening to the national anthem and especially all the guys singing in here, that was a true skull moment. That was awesome. I only hope that these media's cameras can pick that kind of stuff up. That was fantastic. Guys, it's about 4,000 degrees warmer right now than it was about 72 hours ago. And I know there's a lot of things that you guys could all be doing right now instead of being right here. But you guys have all made this decision in your own minds that right here is the best place for you to be using your time to be standing up for your rights and to be here right now. So thank you so much for caring about your Second Amendment, that you're willing to come here. But like Ben said, there is a war on for our Second Amendment freedoms. You guys all watch Ben's videos. You all watch his emails that he sends out on a frequent basis. There is a war on right now for our Second Amendment rights. And the enemy we face is nothing new. America was literally born fighting against tyranny and enemies of freedom. Literally, we were born fighting for our Second Amendment freedoms. And thanks to our founding fathers, the fight that Minnesota is in right now, because of the brilliant system of checks and balances that they gave to us, that they paid for with their blood, we can settle these disagreements that we have currently. We can still do this in a peaceful manner. That's great. So, but the situation we're in here is not new. It's very familiar to us all. There's despots, there's tyrants, there's dictators. They're all the same. They all want to strip you and subjugate you and enslave you by destroying your right to self-defense and to own firearms. And this time, they just have different names. Think back to the Revolutionary War. Sir Henry Clinton was the commander of the British forces. Today, here in Minnesota, his name is Governor Tim Walz. Think of Lord Cornwallis. And some of these British tyrants and despots, they're a lot cooler than some of the players that we have here. But Lord Cornwallis, I guess the closest we can come here right now is Speaker Melissa Hortman. Yeah? But I don't know has anybody here seen the movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson? Yeah, good movie. You guys all remember Tavington, that the commander of the British Dragoons, the brutal. Yeah? Well, here in Minnesota, his name is Ron Latz. Ron Latz. Bannister Tarleton. Ron Latz, like Tarleton, he's the cruel godfather of gun control here in Minnesota. Ron Latz is on a dedicated lifetime mission to destroy your Second Amendment freedoms. Remember his name, Ron Latz.
We're not going to let him.
No, and Ben's not going to let you. If these bills get passed, it is a fundamental destruction of your Second Amendment freedoms. And it's not just a destruction of your freedoms, it's a destruction of your kids and your grandkids and their kids and every future generation of Minnesotan to come after us. If we let these bills pass, it's going to destroy the Second Amendment for them. Yeah. Yeah, we should talk about that quite a bit. He just said tar and feathering. A lot of our American founding fathers, like Samuel Adams, exercised that very much. You're going to hear a lot of info here today. You're going to hear a lot of perspectives. You're going to hear a lot of stuff about what we need to do to stop it. You're going to hear a lot of speakers that are far better than me. But because, he talked about how I was the original founder of Minnesota gun rights, but I got to tell you, just standing here right now and looking at all of you packed into this building, like Ben said, you're stacked all the way up to the 3rd floor. I see you guys up there. That handlebar mustache is fantastic. Yeah. But I am proud what you guys have all turned into, what you guys have done with this organization so far. You've stopped all the major gun control bills in the last several years, and there's been an onslaught, a bloody fight to pass this stuff. Give yourselves a big pat on the back for stopping that stuff in 2018. Minnesota Gun Rights is a grassroots army of mobilized, activated, and paying attention gun owners. You guys have had a lot of success over the years since we started this organization in 2013. There's a lot of bad actors who are no longer in this legislature thanks to you guys. I'm going to read off some of their names. Will Morgan from House District 56, one of Bloomberg's chief lieutenants. He's not here anymore, thanks to gun owners. Tim Faust, Joe Radinovich, Rod Skoy, who voted against constitutional carry. You guys have all heard some of these names. Lyle Coonan. These people are all gone thanks to you guys. Yeah. Thanks to you guys, mobilized gun owners in their districts. But you're going to hear a lot of stuff about the current fight, the national fight, and everything. I want to give you guys just a little perspective into how far you guys have come with Minnesota gun rights. When we started Minnesota gun rights, I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm going to back up and tell you a little story. When we started Minnesota gun rights, we started just a couple of us, $25 and a bad attitude. That's how we got started. And I remember, I think it was back in 2014, was the first time I ever came to this building to testify, to witness a committee testimony hearing take place. And that's really where we got our start here at Minnesota Gun Rights. I think it happened about 20 feet below where I'm currently standing. I think the room back then was room 103, and it was the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing room. And it was a bill by Ron Latz, again, the godfather of gun control here in Minnesota. And I'm trying to remember what the bill was about. I think it was a bill that would create a database for people to willingly enter themselves into and have their gun rights taken away for life. Yeah, who the hell would ever do something like that? But exactly, stupid people. But this was the bill that Ron Latz was pushing. And I just remember I sat there in like the 3rd row back or something. I sat there and I listened to testimony after testimony after testimony of all these insane people that were sitting there telling us that if we just destroy the Second Amendment, that somehow we're all going to become safe again. It was insanity. And I just remember sitting there thinking to myself, I hate public speaking. 30 seconds before I came up here, I was just sitting there. I still hate public speaking. But I remember sitting there thinking to myself, Minnesota gun rights is an infant. We are a baby. I think we had maybe 80 members total of the organization. I think there was probably 600 people who followed us on our Facebook page. And I remember sitting there listening to all these crazy lefty lunatics that were sitting there trying to destroy our freedom. And I remember thinking to myself, Chris, there's a lot of people at home right now. Those 80 people, they can't be here right now. They can't be here to testify against this stuff. There's 600 people on our Facebook page. They're not here to be able to testify against this stuff. So even if you don't like it, even if it makes you uncomfortable, get your butt up there and testify. And that's how Minnesota gun rights got started. I got up there, and you guys have probably heard Ron Latz before. You've probably heard him talk. He's stood right here many times and championed the destruction of the Second Amendment. But he said, "Are there any more people in the audience who would like to testify about this bill?" And I just sat there. I'm like, okay, it's time to giddy up and do or die. Because if I sit here and shut up, if I sit here and don't say a thing, what does that do for our members who can't be here, who put their trust in Minnesota gun rights? And I didn't want to do it, but I got up there, and I can't even remember. You could probably go back, and I'm probably stuttering even worse than I am right now, but I remember saying, this bill is a gun control bill. It will not save, it will not increase public safety whatsoever. Do the right thing, put this bill where it belongs, and that's out in the trash can in the hallway. And that was the first action we ever took here at Minnesota Gun Rights on behalf of our members and supporters. And so now to see there's well over 80 of you here, and I'm proud as heck to see it. That's how we got started. That's where we got started, and that's where we came from. That's where we're going to continue to go. We're going to continue being your voice without apology, without ever backing down in this building. We will never, ever quit. Ever. 250 years ago, the opponents that we faced wore red coats. Today they wear red shirts that say "Moms Demand Action." They want to destroy our freedom. That's right. Give them a big boo. They don't want to, yeah. Ben is going to talk about another fight that we are fighting right now. And it's another fight we also fought 250 years ago. Back then, they were called loyalists to the crown. These were American colonials that preferred subjugation and enslavement over freedom and liberty. They were our neighbors, and sheeple. And we faced it then, and we face it again today. Samuel Adams, who knows him? I know you were just talking about him just a second ago because you were talking about tarring and feathering. Yeah. But he's called America's original radical. He founded the Sons of Liberty, and he used to tar and feather British tax collectors. Yeah. Yeah. But Sam Adams once said, "It does not take a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority, keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men." You guys and gals have made the decision to be here today because you are an irate, tireless bunch of sons of liberty, and you're drawing that line in the sand. Minnesota Gun Rights is proud to stand with you and fight to keep those brush fires of freedom alive in Minnesota. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you for that. I've never emceed any sort of event in my life. Apparently, we just got to get a lot closer. If this is too loud, tell me. Apparently, it's just not nearly loud enough. So, can anybody hear us on the second floor? Yeah, next time we're getting 4 more mics. All right, guys. Man, there's so much to say. If you guys watch any of my Facebook Live videos, I just kind of go on and on for an hour or more like that. So I'm gonna be quick here with as we go through the introductions. Is Jack around? Jack, you're up next. Guys, thank you. I just want to thank you so much for coming out today. There is a war on here. It's not Republican versus Democrat. It's us versus them It's us versus them. There are too many Republicans in the Minnesota legislature who are backing gun control, who are sponsoring gun control, who are being protected. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. But guys, for right now, you already met him. Jack Rogers. Again, this guy's been fighting. He's been fighting for gun owners. He knows everybody in this building, it seems. It's ridiculous. But this guy, he's not a politician. You'll notice right away there aren't legislators up here talking. There aren't legislators talking to people. Every time there's a rally, an organization shows up here and they line up all their best friends in the legislature and they get up there and they start patting themselves on the back and telling you what a great job they're doing. They're not doing a great job, not by a long shot. That's why we're here.
We the people.
And that is why everybody who's speaking today is a grassroots citizen, an activist, somebody who's actually fighting on the front lines for gun owners, not politicians. That's why the politicians aren't speaking here today. These are grassroots activists. These are you guys who are fighting for gun rights. So, Jack, come on up.
I think this is great. I'm back again. That's the first time this has ever happened. We got some serious stuff to talk about. But before we get to that, I got to talk about my winter weight. Somebody back there said, Jack, have you put on a pound? I said, nope, my weight never varies, just my height. So pay attention to that. Talk into the mic, okay. I'm going to talk to you about there's two kinds of precious metals. Two precious metals. The first is gold. The second is lead. Can I hear it for lead? That's the great equalizer. That's what makes it possible for us to be here and for us to explain that our liberty, our freedom are not to be messed with. So let me ask you a few questions. If I were to come into your home and tell you that you're not allowed to watch your television, what do you say? I didn't hear that. Yes! Yes! If I were to come into your home and say, take that table and chairs off that deck, what do you say? That's right. If I told you you could not park your Harley in the driveway, what do we say? So if a leftist politician or a leftist governor, senator, or representative tells you you are not allowed to have firearms, you're not allowed to carry firearms, what are we going to do? That's right, and that's why we're here. We're here to protect that Second Amendment, the most valuable amendment there is, because it stops the tyranny. It has stopped many invasions of the United States by foreign countries because there is a gun behind every tree, in every home, protecting our liberty and our freedom. And we don't care if the tyranny comes from St. Paul, or if it comes from Washington, or if it comes from Russia. We stand against it. We're not getting too old to fight. We're just getting warmed up. Just starting. I am disappointed in one thing today. I'm disappointed that we didn't have to take the hoopla in the middle out to put people there. I'm disappointed that the cars just didn't stop and park in the streets, that there's so many of us. I'm disappointed that we don't have 5,000 or 10,000 people standing here with us. We do have a lot of work to do, don't we?
We're here to do it.
And we have to do it not just for ourselves, but those who are ignorant to the power of the Second Amendment. We have to protect it. We got to show up at the doors of your representatives and your senators, and you got to make it happen. You see, we can no longer holler from our couch to the TV, stop. we got to come down here and stop it. We have to make it important. There can be no partial restriction to the Second Amendment. Did you hear me? No partial restriction. And if we have Republicans or Democrats or independents suggesting that there should be some adjustments to it, we go to their office politely. And by the way, don't waste perfectly good feathers on tar and feathering. And my God, you know the value of down today? Take it, sell it, turn it into what? Lead, the other precious metal. So, we have to be closer than ever before. We have to fight closer than ever before. Get tied into an organization. I'm with Action for Liberty. Go and get signed up for Action for Liberty. I'm also part of the Minnesota Tea Party Alliance, which has fought for years. I've marched with many of you in many parades. I've marched in many parades, too many, all over this state. And I've been given the privilege today, and I humbly say that I am proud to call you my allies and my friends. May God bless us, protect us, that we can pass that on to our next generation. God bless you all.
That man's a patriot. He's a patriot. We need more like him. We need more like you. That is what Minnesota Gun Rights is all about, growing a grassroots army. We are already, by far and away, the largest grassroots gun rights organization this state has ever seen. Thank you guys for coming out. All right, I want to introduce our next speaker. A lot of you know her. A lot of you have saw the video from the deplorable housewives of the Midwest. We love them. Michelle Even is her name. She has more there you go. She has more intestinal fortitude than any 25 politicians in this place. She's gotten in the face of more legislators. Did you guys see that video of her and Kurt Dowd the other day? Yep. Kurt Dowd just leering and jeering in her face. But she didn't back down a tiny little bit. She was with me and Chanhassen when we confronted Lion Scott Jensen and his support for universal gun registration. She's an activist fighting for gun rights. Guys, this is Michelle Even.
Hello. Hey, how's everyone doing? All right, so I'm a little out of my element because normally what I'm doing is chasing people down rather than standing in front of them. So that's my deal. I love to chase politicians down and read them the riot act. Thank you. All right, so ladies, can you hear me? Wow, I'm really into this thing. Okay, ladies, I don't know about you, but I can't think of anything hotter than a room full of testosterone and guns. Right? Am I right? That's hot. So I'm supposed to talk about women and guns today, but really the only thing I want to say about that is one thing. Smart women carry. That's all you need to know, right? Right. There's one thing I have to get off my mind here. Senator Paul Gazelka. Do you have those signs? Senator Paul Gazelka. All right, there we go. That's Paul Gazelka. So this is where we boo. When I say Senator Paul Gazelka, we all boo. All right. Senator Paul Gazelka from Canada. Yes. Okay. Senator Paul Gazelka. Northfield is not in Iowa. Right? We know this? All right. Everyone's confused that MGR is from Iowa, that Iowa gun group. Guess what? They're from Minnesota, people. Yeah! Not only is Senator Gazelka a weak politician, but he's a lousy, what is he? Oh, he's lousy at geography, right? It's terrible. All right, so let's do this. Let's let Senator Paul Gazelka know who's in the House today right now. So really loud, really proud gun owners, as loud as you can be right now. Just cheer. Yes! Oh my God. Yes! Thank you. That was amazing. That was amazing. So I came down to the Capitol opening day of the legislature, and I think many of you probably saw Ben down here doing a live stream also. Wow, that was a hot mess if you didn't see that. And the Capitol was full of these commie mommies. Do you know who they are? The ones that want to take our guns away. They're the ones that like Scott Jensen. And I think we have some signs about lying Scott Jensen, right? This is where you boo. This is where you boo. That's right. Okay. So these lefties wear T-shirts that say, "Moms demand action." I'm saying, ladies, if you're looking for action, don't come to the Capitol. Okay? Right? Don't come here. All right. And then we also have this other T-shirt that walks around, and it says, "Minnesotans against getting shot." Well, who wants to get shot anyways, right? I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It's just insane. Yes, that's right. Okay, so by the way, you know what? The left is not going to stop until they take all of our guns away. And aren't you tired of politicians playing games with our Second Amendment? I am. I'm sick of it. Year after year, the same games, and year after year, they chip away at our Second Amendment rights. And I'm fed up with it, and you should be fed up with it too. That's right. We're not going to tolerate this anymore. We hired these clowns, and we can fire these clowns, right? Yes. All right. So, do you know what I love about Ben Dorr? Ben Dorr, he's got a big set of guts. Doesn't? Minnesota gun rights rocks, you guys. They are the best, aren't they? How about a round of applause for them? You know, with MGR, it's no compromise, no apologies. Yes means yes, no means no. I don't have to worry about, that's right, I don't have to worry about MGR coming down to the Capitol and making friends with politicians. I know they are here working for gun owners. There's no shady deals in the back rooms selling gun owners out. There's no compromise. No compromise. Yeah, the fake group, right? Okay. It's imperative that we all participate in protecting the Second Amendment. Keep up with your phone calls, emailing, and above all, MGR needs your financial support, right? We have to support the guys who are doing all the work. They're the most effective gun group in this state. So let's show Ben, Aaron, and Chris how much we appreciate them right now.
All right. That was exciting. Did you say group hug? Oh. All right. Well, our next speaker is my brother Aaron Dorr. He's a director of Iowa Gun Owners. He's a director of Iowa Gun Owners, but we fight in a lot of states for the Second Amendment. We fight with a lot of patriots for the Second Amendment. We're unapologetic in our defense of gun rights. Wherever it's under attack, we love to fight for gun owners. We're not ashamed of it. We've never been ashamed of it. We love the Second Amendment. We're sick and tired of seeing us trampled on by politicians. Sick and tired of it. Sick of it. That's why we're here. So Aaron's going to talk about what's going on nationally. We have Republicans introducing radical gun control at the national level. What are we going to do about it? So guys, give it up for Aaron Dorr, my brother.
Hey guys, good to see you all. I'm Aaron Dorr. I'm the one from Iowa. So when you hear him talk about the Iowa organization, well, Ben, he's moved up north a long time ago. So can you guys hear me okay up there? I'm going to try to get a little bit closer to the microphone. Can you guys hear me okay? And if you're in front of the speakers here, I'm probably going to blast your ears for a little bit, so you might want to slide over for a little bit. But as you guys know, my name is Aaron Dorr. I'm Ben's brother. I help out with a lot of state-level operations. I help out with Ben when I have time to do so. But he asked me today to address the federal issues, the fights that we're seeing in Washington, D.C., because we can't obviously ignore what's happening right now with Speaker Pelosi trying to take a 2x4 to our right to keep and bear arms. And, you know, it's kind of funny. We hear from these Republican lawmakers all the time in places like Minnesota, places like Iowa, and other places that, well, we can't pass gun bills right now because we don't have the majority. And so you heard that from Kurt Dowd for years and years and years. We can't pass pro-gun bills because we don't control the governor's office, right? And we're hearing it right now from Senate Leader Gazelka. But when you hear what's happening right now in D.C., you're going to realize just how stupid that is. Because Nancy Pelosi isn't waiting to get control of the Senate to try to pass gun control. They're not waiting to take over the White House before they try to pass gun control. They're doing what our side should be doing. They're advancing a gun control agenda and then hoping to use that to beat Republicans over the head with across the Senate. Where's their authority? Where are our champions? Where are our champions? That is the question. That is the question. Because you guys don't have a lot of champions in this building in Minnesota, and that's a sad fact. So before I discuss the bills, just realize what's going on. The left, the anti-gun radicals, they always fight for their base. Where are the people who are fighting for gun owners? Where are the lawmakers in Minnesota who are fighting for you? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Let's talk about House H.R. 8. This is the big one going on. There's going to be hearings this Wednesday in Washington, D.C. already on this bill, H.R. 8. This is being sold to gun owners as a common sense background check. Who would be opposed to a little common sense background check, right? But we know what this is, don't we? This is a national gun owners database. That's what this is, a national registry of gun owners. They want to make every firearms transfer, every single one, go through a government permission slip first. They want a list of every gun owner in this country. And we all know why, don't we? We all know why. This bill already has 229 co-sponsors on H.R. 8. Here in Minnesota, Representatives Omar, is she the one who married her brother? I always forget. She's the one who married her brother? Okay. Representatives, I'm from Iowa, so I don't know who's marrying their brothers up here. I have to ask, you know. Representatives Omar, Representatives Phillips, McCollum, and Craig have already co-sponsored this bill. This is moving quickly. And while we have no Republicans in Minnesota who have yet co-sponsored, you have to realize the pressure is mounting on Republican lawmakers to co-sponsor this bill. Republican congressmen in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, in Florida, and New York have already co-sponsored Nancy Pelosi's agenda. So when you hear from Ben, when you get emails from Ben, whenever he has time, because there's so much of a focus right now on St. Paul, when you get emails on these federal gun control bills, fire off those emails, guys. Your state lawmakers, your federal lawmakers in this case, have to hear from you now. This bill, if passed into law, would make you a felon if you so much as gave a firearm to your brother-in-law without government permission. It would make you a felon if you swapped firearms with your childhood friend. These people hate the Second Amendment. They hate our freedom, and they are determined to put us in jail by making these into felonies. This is insane. This is insane. Be careful, though. Be careful, because Pelosi has drafted this bill differently. They're learning. They're not stupid. They may be bad, but they're not stupid. And Pelosi's carve-out this time, what you're hearing from anti-gun lawmakers is that, oh, this is not as bad as it used to be. You can still give a gun to your son. You can still pass on firearms to your grandchildren. Sure, for now. The whole purpose of this bill is to get a framework bill in place that they can expand on down the road. That's it. That is their agenda. H.R. 8 is a terrible, terrible thing. But again, realize what's going on. Will it pass the Senate? I don't know. Will President Trump sign it? I don't know. But the anti-gunners aren't waiting. That's the point. They are trying to advance their agenda and then use that to then put pressure on the other chambers. Why isn't Paul Gazelka doing that in Minnesota now? Why isn't the Senate in Minnesota passing stand your ground law? Why isn't the Senate in Minnesota passing constitutional carry? Why isn't the Senate in Minnesota putting anti-gunners, Speaker Hortman, on defense? That is the question that gun owners are demanding an answer to right now, because if they would act as a fraction as aggressive as Speaker Pelosi, we'd be in a much better position here in Minnesota. Let's move on to Senate Bill 7. This is the Republican gun control bill. And I might make some of you mad here. I'm not going to hold back, though, because you have to know what's going on. This is the Republican gun control bill in the United States Senate. It's sponsored by the A-endorsed tiny little Marco Rubio. You guys all know about Tiny Marco, right? Tiny Marco, Little Marco. So Little Marco has filed the red flag gun seizure law. Red flag. You guys all heard about red flag gun seizures? You heard about those from Ben? And just in case, a brief recap. A red flag gun seizure, depending upon final language, would allow your ex-spouse, your ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, it could be a teacher, it could be a doctor, lots of people who don't like you potentially, to say that you shouldn't have your gun rights. You might be dangerous. They get to go to a judge and say he should lose his rights or she should lose her rights just in case. No evidence. No evidence. It's an ex parte hearing. What that means is that you're not even aware there's a hearing going on. You can't be there. You can't bring your own evidence. You can't have a lawyer present. There's a fight going on for your gun rights and you're not even aware of it. That's an ex parte hearing. That's an ex parte hearing. And guess what I didn't say? When the judge issues the seizure order, it is before you've been charged with a crime. It is before you've been indicted for a crime. And it's before you've been convicted of anything. That is a red flag gun seizure. And that, terrible, terrible. And that is the bill that is being pushed by Republican Senator Marco Rubio right now in Washington, D.C. And you know what? He already has Republican co-sponsors. You know, there was a time when I got my start in gun politics about 11 years ago. There was a time when it was kind of more or less safe to assume that it was oftentimes Republican versus Democrat. That's kind of how it was 10, 12 years ago. It's not that way anymore. And you guys know that in Minnesota more than anywhere else. It is the smug, elite, arrogant insiders versus us. That is how the game is played now. So we can't trust a party anymore. We can't trust a certain person's affiliation anymore. The proof is in the pudding. And right now what we're seeing in Washington, D.C. and in Minnesota from Republican lawmakers is not good stuff. Be very careful on Senate File 7. I forgot to mention one last thing. This is where I might lose some of you. You know who's also pushing Senate File 7? The National Rifle Association. The National Rifle Association is the organization who is pushing a version of this bill. It was their guy who filed it. Little Marco Rubio is their guy who filed the bill on behalf of the NRA. Now they're going to say, no, That's not true. We don't support the ex parte version, and that's true. They want to make some modifications. But you know what? At the end of the day, we're still losing our gun rights having never been convicted in court. And that is the ultimate due process violation. So you have to ask yourselves a question. Where is our money going if we send it to D.C.? Because this is a joke. This is terrible stuff. Let's move on. What's that? You guys hear me okay? All right. One last big one to talk about. The assault weapons ban. The assault weapons ban. Who's heard about the assault weapons ban? This is Senator Feinstein's big push. Of course, we know what an assault weapon is, don't we? It's a full auto firearm. But the way these people are defining this, it's your regular, semi-automatic, regular firearms that millions of gun owners across the country have in their gun safe right now. Senate Bill 66, 28 co-sponsors, including Minnesota Senator Klobuchar and Smith. Bad stuff. Bad stuff. This bill will ban 205 specific firearms. Hundreds. And the way it's drafted, it could be expanded to include virtually every semi-automatic firearm that you own. See, here's the lesson we have to learn from this. There's no give with these people. There's no half measures. They're not trying to tweak our gun rights. They want to crush them. This is not like the anti-gun lawmakers we dealt with 20 years ago. These people are unapologetic, and we have to be the exact same way. Terrible. Terrible. They want to ban your magazines. They want to ban all your magazines over 10 rounds capacity, and they want to make you a felon if you pass on your AR-15 to your own flesh and blood. That is what the assault weapons ban would do. It is the end of our ability to have the best firearms we need. I was talking to a reporter yesterday, and they said, well, what's the big deal with the AR-15? Like, why can't you just have other firearms? Why do you need this one? And I said, well, there's 3 great reasons. I said, number one, it's one of the best firearms to stop crime. We all saw what happened in the church shooting down in Texas. A madman used an AR to kill 28 people. And a good guy used an AR to stop the bad guy. So we know it's one of the best firearms out there. Number 2, I said, it's great for staving off tyranny. And that is why we're proud gun owners. We're not here to talk about hunting rabbits. We don't own these just to go to the shooting range. These are gifts that our founding fathers died to give us. The ability to stave off tyranny. And I told this reporter, the last reason is the best one. It's my right. I don't need a reason. I don't need a reason. Our forefathers gave us the right, and we don't need a reason to own the AR-15. So, folks, these are just some of the big bills that are moving right now in D.C. When you hear about these from Ben, when you get those emails, you see those Facebook posts, you've got to fire off your emails because it's one thing to co-sponsor a bill, but some of these people have very competitive congressional seats, even here in Minnesota. And if they hear from you, if they hear from mountains of gun owners, it will potentially be able to stop this bill from moving. The first hearing takes place on Wednesday. This bill is going to move quickly. So guys, fire off your emails. And all I'm going to say before I wrap up is just, again, realize what's going on. Nancy Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein, they never take a break. They never give up. They always work to advance their agenda. And it's time that Republican lawmakers start doing the same thing. Not just in Washington, D.C., not just in Washington, D.C., but right here in Minnesota. And as you're going to hear from Ben here momentarily, this is a huge problem in Minnesota politics. And as you're about to hear from Ben also, there's a reason why both parties hate Minnesota gun rights. It's not on accident. If Ben wanted to be the most beloved lobbyist in the building, that's not hard. All you do is just cover for everybody all the time. If we want to fight back, if we want to save our freedoms, we can't play those games anymore, guys. Thank you very much for coming out here today, guys. Appreciate it very much.
Some people will say that stuff isn't true. Some people say we're lying. Some people will say, well, the Republicans wouldn't do that. They'll say the NRA wouldn't do that. Every word of it is the truth. Every word of it is the truth. That's why I said at the beginning of this, it's not Republican versus Democrat like it was in the old days. It's us versus them. It's citizens versus the establishment and their puppet organizations. Yes, yes, he said they need to have fear of us. Yes, they need to fear gun owners. Well, you can really be hated when politicians fear you. They don't like that very much, and that's why they hate gun owners. That's why they hate Minnesota gun rights, and that's why I'm so damn proud to be a part of this organization. Our next speaker is a man named Bill Paulson. He's with the North Star Liberty Alliance. He's the chairman of the North Star Liberty Alliance. He and his group and the people who work with him have been instrumental in taking primaries and kicking out rhinos, taking endorsements during the endorsement conventions. They have caused Kurt Doubt a lot of pain. They've caused the establishment a lot of pain at election time. Like I said, everybody who's speaking here today has been fighting for gun owners. That's why there's no politicians standing up here. So give it up for Bill Paulson with the North Star Liberty Alliance.
Thank you. Thank you. As you know, our liberties are under attack. Since the moment our unique experiment in human freedom and limited government, this country, the United States of America, was founded in 1776, there have been those who have been trying to weaken and end this experiment. They've been trying to put the genie of individual liberty back into the bottle and put things back to how they've been throughout human history until our revolution in 76. They've been trying to weaken our rights to control how we use and spend our own money. They've been trying to limit how we can effectively criticize the political class. They've been trying to control how we raise and educate our children, trying to limit how we worship God, trying to take away our right to defend ourselves. North Star Liberty Alliance is dedicated to advancing the cause of freedom and liberty here in Minnesota. Our mission is to educate Minnesotans on liberty issues, including the God-given right to own and keep firearms. That's so clearly stated in the Second Amendment. Our passion is to make liberty activists, people who want to fight for freedom, an effective political force. Now, why are we here at the Capitol? Why are we rallying today? Why are you taking this? Exactly. That's because there's a fight. There's a war on right now for your Second Amendment, for your liberty, for your ability to defend your family, to defend those you love, to fight back against human government tyranny. Right now, as we speak, politicians are plotting to try to push through red flag laws that you've heard here in Minnesota, trying to expand. They are trying to push through universal gun registration and other bills to expand government gun registries. And make no mistake about it, red flag laws and gun registration is ultimately about gun confiscation. Anti-gunners have been pushing these bills across the country. They pushed one through in Maryland last year, and an attempt to seize guns under that law has already left one person dead. There is no fixing this bill. It must be defeated. Kill the bill. Kill the bill. Expanding gun registration means that the government would have the ability to track who owns which firearms. There is no fixing this bill. It must be defeated. One reason we know we must defeat it is to defend our liberty. We also know that gun control simply does not work. Are the criminals going to abide by these new laws? No! And beware, the next time a criminal uses a gun or a madman uses a gun, they will use that as an excuse to expand these laws further. What is our biggest challenge here in Minnesota right now to stopping these bills and to stopping these gun grabs? We know who the godfather of gun control here is in Minnesota, Ron Latz. We know Governor Walz wants to enact more gun laws. But right now, they and their party do not have the votes to push this through. The most dangerous threat to our liberties right now are those unprincipled politicians who go out in election time and make all sorts of grand promises about defending your rights and your liberties, and then when they come to St. Paul, they scheme to plot and push through rotten compromises that take away your rights. So let's name names. Who are these people? And lying Scott Jensen. He was elected in a pro-gun district promising to support our Second Amendment rights. And right now, he is advocating a bill to create so-called voluntary gun registration, where you can get voluntary background checks. And he says he has the backing of the National Rifle Association for this. But when has the government program ever been voluntary? This bill, and this must be defeated. I think he hasn't filed it yet. Who loses when they push these bills through? Who loses when they craft these compromises? Law-abiding citizens. Correct. We lose as they compromise our rights away. The political class will tell you you've got to play by their rules. That you've got to get a seat at the table, be friends of leadership, have them say nice things about you and your organization.
Liberty's not for sale.
We're not here. I'm not here to make friends of Senator Paul Gazelka, Senate Majority Leader Gazelka, so that he'll say nice things about me or my friends, while he covers up the betrayals being plotted by the members of his caucus. Rather than a seat at the table, we must overturn the table and overturn their attempts to push through and compromise our rights away. And how do we do that? We do that by building an army of freedom-loving activists. You and I know the politicians won't see the light of day until they feel the heat. That's why we need to band together and tell these politicians enough is enough. We need to organize. We need you to sign up right now and join the fight to protect our rights. My friend Tony is over at our booth, and we need to sign the petitions. We're trying to push through and build support for constitutional carry, which recognizes in law that you have the right to defend yourself and your loved ones. We need stand your ground, which is the right. And most importantly, we must not compromise. We must not compromise with these efforts to whittle away our rights step by step. And that's why we must say no to any and all compromises with the gun grabbers. We need to recruit others to the fight. Tell your neighbor, tell your coworker, tell your hunting buddies, tell your family. Tell everyone you know that our rights are under attack and that we need to join together to fight back. Thank you, and thank you for all that you do to defend our rights.
Well, I guess that makes it my turn. I should have got a drink of water because I get a little long-winded sometimes. All right. As you guys know, I'm Ben Dorr. I'm the political director for Minnesota Gun Rights. And I'm going to give you guys an overview of what's going on in Minnesota, what bills have been introduced, who the players are, and who is stabbing us in the back. And they are many, many people. Well, let's just start with November 6th. Everybody knows what happened. The House majority in Minnesota was slaughtered by Bloomberg's people. Slaughtered. That was the Republican majority that former Speaker of the House, Kurt Dowd, presided over for 4 years. In that time, he never moved stand your ground. He never moved constitutional carry. In fact, he worked actively to crush any of our efforts to move those pro-gun bills. He attacked gun owners. He attacked the Second Amendment. And on November 6th, his caucus, your Republican majority, was slaughtered because of his inadequacy, because of his betrayal. And so what did they do? What did they do? We thought, well, at least maybe this will be like a learning curve for these people. Maybe they'll go, maybe since we lost like 18, 19, 20 Republican seats, maybe we should do something a little bit different than we have done before. Maybe we should move some pro-gun legislation. Maybe we should start fighting for the people. What did they do? They blamed it all on Donald Trump. They blamed it all on Donald Trump. They said, Donald Trump is the reason we lost those suburban Republican districts. We did nothing wrong. We've heard that from dozens of legislators. That's what all the politicos say. It's all our president's fault that we lost the House majority. So I'm slamming my face into the desk going, well, I guess we know what the next couple of years looks like. Republicans doing what they did before, going, hey, we can do absolutely nothing. We can stab gun owners in the back. And, if we lose the Senate majority, it's all Donald Trump's fault. And so we knew that going into 2019, this is going to be the biggest war on our gun rights we ever saw. We have a massive Democrat majority in the House. Massive. It was like a total flip. I think we went from 77 Republicans to 59 Democrats. And that's a total reversal. It's like a total reversal. They got slaughtered because they wouldn't do anything for gun owners. They wouldn't do anything on behalf of the Second Amendment. Yet they got up here and they gave their speeches and they told everybody how pro-gun they were and how they've been fighting so hard. And so we knew going into 2019 we faced a tremendous battle. We have a massive Democrat majority in the House. We have a governor who's more than happy to pass this stuff. And we have Keith Ellison, who is more than happy to make us choke on any of this legislation if it ever gets passed. That man hates America. He hates Minnesota. He hates gun owners. And he's top cop. He's top cop. And so we knew the Senate is our chance. The Senate is our chance to stop this gun control. So session kicks off, and freshman Representative Ruth Richardson introduces House File 9, Red Flags Gun Confiscations in Minnesota. Well, you guys already know what the bill would do. Aaron talked about the national one that was introduced. The Minnesota one is worse. It's worse. This bill has no residency clause in it. That means if you live in Minnesota, you don't have to have a Minnesotan call you in. Anybody, anywhere, can call you in and say that you're a danger to yourself or others with no due process and no proof. So all your exes who live in Texas, now all of a sudden they got law on their side to call you in. Call you in. You're dangerous. You're dangerous. From my cold, dead hands. That's exactly right. This bill's been introduced. It has 35 co-sponsors on it already in the Minnesota House. This is the number one bill. This is the number one bill. Well, I guess it's tied with the next one we're going to talk about. But new Speaker of the House, Melissa Hortman, promised to make these two gun control bills we're talking about the number one priority in the 2019 session. Number one. So the second bill that was introduced, you guys know Crooked Dave Pinto? Yeah, he's Crooked Dave. He introduces, now this guy's been carrying Bloomberg's water in the Minnesota House for a long, long time. He's been introducing gun control bills, always more than happy to attack our gun rights. I had a conversation with him last year, standing right up there, right above my head, and he says, "Oh, I'm sure we can work together. I know we see a little differently, and but we've always gotten along pretty good with the gun groups, in Minnesota, and we're happy to talk." And I said, we are going to oppose your entire agenda. We do not approve, we're not going to compromise, and we're not going to give an inch. He just turned around and walked away. He turned around and walked away. No compromise ever. That's what that sign says. No compromise ever. There's just too many conversations between gun groups and anti-gun legislators. There's nothing to talk about. You trample our gun rights, we'll trample you at election time. That's the promise. So, Dave Pinto introduces House File 8. So this is the 8th and the 9th bill total to be introduced in the Minnesota House. So they introduced these bills immediately after session kicked off. This is universal background checks. This is the gun registration bill. It's not just that, it's chock full of all kinds of other things. It makes it so that your permit to carry no longer qualifies as the permit to purchase. You got to get a permit to transfer. Every single time you transfer a firearm, you'd have to go get another permit to transfer another firearm. I don't know about you guys, but I'm tired of being treated like a sex offender, having to alert the state every time I sell a gun. Well, we got right to work. In fact, again, we knew this was coming. We knew it was coming 100 miles an hour. We were totally prepared for this. And so we turned on the grassroots machine. That's you guys. You're the grassroots army here. So what? Today's the 2nd of February. Session kicked off on January 8th. So just in the last 3 weeks, gun owners have signed over 25,000 petitions to the Minnesota legislature opposing gun control. 25,000. That's fantastic. And now this part's really fun. This part's really fun. In that same time frame, you guys have sent more than 12,000 emails through our action center into the Minnesota legislature. 12,000! So that's a lot of emails per legislator. And you guys turned this issue into the #1 issue in Minnesota, opposing this gun control. And everybody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about it. Weak legislators are now forced to come out with videos saying that they're opposed to red flags. Now people are forced to grow a spine and stand up for gun owners because of all the pressure they've been getting from you guys. Because here's the deal. You hear all kinds of stuff. You hear all kinds. Minnesota gun rights, they're a scam group. They're this group. Nobody at the Capitol likes them. Nobody likes them. They're a scam group, don't you know? Ask anybody at the Capitol. Fact of the matter is, like tiny bicep Jim Nash. Yes, we're talking about Jim. We're talking about Jim. The fact of the matter is, you, not me. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I'm not Minnesota gun rights. You are Minnesota gun rights. This organization was never supposed to be and never will be an organization where I come to the Capitol and glad hand politicians and take selfies with them and make sure everybody knows that I'm the big gun guy. It's never what this was about, because that is not political power. That's not how you stop gun control. That's not how you advance pro-gun legislation. Lobbyists get steamrolled by politicians. You guys have always been the voice of Minnesota gun rights. 12,000 emails? Just in the last 3 weeks?
Just getting started.
And we're just getting started. Session just kicked off. Session just kicked off. It's amazing. And I'm so proud of you guys. I'm so proud. Thank you so much. So, Ron Latz. I'm Ron Latz. Ron Latz turns around and introduces his gun control bills. Same thing, universal background checks and red flag gun seizure legislation. We knew it was coming. But again, we expect that of Ron Latz, right? The guy lives in St. Louis, St. Louis Park? Outrageous. The guy lives in like an 80-20 gun control district. We expect people like him to try to trample over our gun rights, especially because they hate America and they hate gun owners. But what we don't expect, or what we should not expect, are rhinos like Lion Scott Jensen lining up to vote for this stuff. Because again, we currently have a one vote Republican majority in the Minnesota Senate. And last year, Lion Scott Jensen and Paul Anderson, both Republican senators, both of them co-sponsored Michael Bloomberg's universal gun registration bill in the Minnesota Senate. Kick Bloomberg out. That is why we started lighting them up, putting pressure on them. Because if those two guys vote for universal background checks and every Democrat votes for this stuff, it's over. It's over. It's passed through the Senate. Walz is going to sign it. It's a done deal. So we started amping up the pressure, and that made a lot of these people really mad inside this building. A lot of politicians got really ticked off. We're okay with that. And especially when session kicked off, you guys, a lot of you saw the video. It's got like 75,000 views. We were here with a lot of gun owners. Butch, you were here. Butch was here. Dave was here. A lot of people were here fighting for the Second Amendment when the moms, the Lion Commie mommies, had their great big show of force to push for gun control. Well, we were here for that. And who's down here? Who's standing right down over here taking selfies with these moms? Lion Scott Jensen down here taking selfies with Bloomberg-funded activists. So we started lighting Jensen on fire, but we had to go talk to his boss, because you know they don't listen to the people, they listen to leadership. So we went to Paul Gazelka. He's the Senate Majority Leader. So we left a note. He wasn't at his office. We left a note, so we want to meet with him. I got a call back in like 45 minutes from his chief aide, Matt. And he says, you want to meet with Paul tomorrow morning at 9:45? I said, sounds good. Got a call back, want to meet him at 9:30 instead. He's a little bit busy. I said, that sounds fine. So next morning, so this is Thursday, I think January 13, I head on up here. I sit down with Paul Gazelka and Bill Walsh and Kevin Metzik and Matt Steele. These are all his top guys. They don't want you to know their names, but now you know their names. And I sat down with them. And so what does Paul Gazelka ask me? He says, do you work for Michael Bloomberg? I said, what are you talking about? I said, he goes, well, you're hitting on Republicans. And I said, do you work for Michael Bloomberg? You're not moving stand your ground law. I said, here's the deal, Paul. You need to stop your caucus from moving this stuff. You got to yank Scott Jensen's chain. You got to yank Paul Anderson back into line. Make them vote yes. Make them vote no on gun control. Yes on pro-gun legislation. If they won't, expel them from your caucus. So he begs us to lay off of Scott Jensen. Oh, don't put pressure. Don't put pressure. Begs us to back off. Don't put pressure on us. I said, okay, well, what are you going to do for gun owners? What are you going to do for gun owners? And he says, well, give me a list. So we gave him a list. We said, all right, we want you to pass stand your ground law, or at least get us a vote, for heaven's sake, in the Senate. Pass stand your ground law. Stop red flags and universal background checks. We said, come out strong in opposition to this stuff. We said here, I said, I'll write the press release for you. I'll write the press release, and I did. I wrote the press release, and I sent it to him, where he says, I'm totally 100% opposed to red flags, gun confiscations, and universal background checks, and my caucus will fight against it. Okay? That was the other thing we asked him to do. And we asked him, put Jensen and Anderson back in their place and make sure they vote the right way. I said, all right. So we left, waiting for a response. They had the list. We emailed them the list. This is what we want. We waited. They stonewalled us. I got in the car and I drove back up from Northfield. I went to his office. I knocked on his door. He hid in there for a little while with his aides. I sat outside his door until finally he had to come out. He comes out and he comes marching down the hallway as quick as he can. I said, Senator Gazelka, gun owners wanted an answer. What are you going to do for them in the 2019 session? What are you going to do on behalf of gun owners? And I'm busy. I'm real busy, you know. And I said, we want an answer. Gun owners want an answer. What are you going to do? And he looked at me, standing in front of the elevator on the 3rd floor of the Senate office building, and we're not going to, that was it. We're not, I said, you're not going to do anything? We're not going to do anything? I said, you won't even issue a press release telling Minnesota that you're going to fight to stop this gun control? We're not going to be doing it. We're not going to do any of that. I said, what about Scott Jensen? What about Paul Anderson? If they vote the wrong way, our gun rights are toast. No, we're not going to do that. I'm real busy. And he was gone. That was what Paul Gazelka told us. He said, I'm not going to do anything that gun owners want me to do. And he hasn't. He has not. Weak. A weak man.
Get him out.
So I went outside, right out the other side of the building here. I went outside and I put on my camera and I told you guys what happened. I told you what he had just told me. I made sure every gun owner that we could contact knew that Paul Gazelka was caving and refusing to stand up for gun owners. That video's got like 70,000 views right here in Minnesota. That's viral as far as I'm concerned. Everybody knew. We exposed him. We exposed him. And as a lobbyist, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to let people know what you talk to politicians about. You're not supposed to tell the truth. You're supposed to go back and tell your boss what they said and then try to negotiate some more. Well, I went back and told my boss what they said. That's you guys. So the pressure really started to mount on Paul Gazelka. His caucus was starting to look pretty bad. He was starting to look pretty bad. And so what? What did he do? What did he do? He turned on his propaganda machine. He turned on his propaganda machine in the form of the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus, then the Gokra Facebook page, who started launching attacks against us, started launching attacks against gun owners. He got staffers on our Facebook page saying, Senator Gazelka never met with you.
Never.
So what happens? The Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus, I'm talking about Brian Strasser, I'm talking about Rob Dorr. Hey, you know, some people don't like me talking about it, but here's the fact of the matter. They started running massive interference on behalf of Paul Gazelka, posting his videos, calling Minnesota gun rights an Iowa organization. Hold on a minute. Aren't Rob and Brian, aren't they here? Rob and Brian, Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus, you here? Thought you guys were in-house. Oh, we found them! Here, we got them! Oh, how they dance! Oh, how they dance for leadership. Always willing to do what the politicians want. Meet Brian Strasser and meet Rob, meet little Robbie. Here they are. Don't forget, guys, these guys are the ones who endorsed Lion Scott Jensen and refused to yank the endorsement after he sponsored Bloomberg's gun control. These are the guys who endorsed radical anti-gun Democrats like Rod Skoy and Lyle Coonan, who voted no on constitutional carry and killed the bill in the Senate. These are the guys who are currently running interference for leadership. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Our gun rights are on the line. We have no space in this political process for compromise. No compromise! Compromise is how we lose. When we compromise, the politicians win, organizations win, and you guys always lose. Always. Enough is enough is enough. No more compromise. So what do? Like a day after they start attacking Minnesota guns, day after Paul Gazelka starts attacking you guys, starts attacking the members and supporters of Minnesota gun rights, the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus, they bring Paul Gazelka down to come talk to all the gun owners and make sure that he tells them what a good job he's doing. And what does he say? He doesn't say he's going to stop red flags. He doesn't say he's going to stop universal gun registration. It was all fluff. It was all political doublespeak and nonsense. Enough is enough. Stand your ground. So Paul Gazelka, he shoots a video that he's sending out all over the place, wants everybody to know. Again, he's under tremendous pressure from gun owners. That's the only reason this is happening. It's the only reason this is happening. The more pressure they get, the more they hate us. The more pressure they get, the more they attack us. We say, bring it on! So just days after meeting with Paul Gazelka, where he begs us to leave Lion Scott Jensen alone, he shoots a video and he says, he doesn't even say, I'm pro-gun. He says, I think you all know that I'm pro-gun. What is that? What is that? And he goes, there's three groups. There's three groups in Minnesota. The NRA, the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus, and that other group from Iowa, who I don't even think they're pro-gun. I don't even think they're pro-gun, he says. Well, so apparently because we're not willing to kiss his lily white backside, he's going to attack us. That's all right. That's all right. Because we're never going to compromise for gun owners. We're never going to compromise. Never going to compromise. Because again, I'll let you in on a little secret that you guys already know. My brother Aaron is from Iowa. My brother Chris lives in Ohio. I live in Northfield. My children, both of my boys, were born here. I've been paying Minnesota taxes for the last how many years, which is just going out the door to pay for all these illegals to be hauled into our state. We fight for gun rights, and the model is always the same. We're not willing to compromise. And so just like in Minnesota, Minnesota has rhinos. I'll let you in a little secret. Iowa has rhinos. Ohio has rhinos. D.C. has rhinos, all attacking our gun rights. And so they all line up and start attacking Minnesota gun rights, Iowa gun owners, Ohio gun owners, saying, don't you know they're from out of state? No, we're not. I live here. I work here. I love you all. I love our Second Amendment, and I'm going to fight for it every single day, and I know you're going to stand there with me and do it. Yeah. And it is time for the politicians, it's time for politicians like Paul Gazelka and Kurt Dowd, and there are so many others. Pat Garofalo, loser. Lion Scott Jensen, the list goes on. Josh Heinzerman.
Sandy Pappas.
Yeah, the list goes on and on and on. They attack us. It's time for them to stand up for gun owners. It's time for them to stand up for the Second Amendment, stop attacking the members of Minnesota gun rights, and start fighting to pass Stand Your Ground law and stop red flags gun seizures. So after we got done, after this whole thing broke up with Gazelka, Lion Scott Jensen decided to have a town hall meeting in Chanhassen. Now, we had tried to talk with Lion Scott, but he ran away from us. He bolted up the stairs and ran away from us in the Senate office building across the street. So we decided to go to his town hall meeting, ran a little Facebook Live, and confronted him right there in front of his entire crowd and said, what are you going to do about the Second Amendment? And he said he's going to push for universal gun registration, and the NRA has signed off on it. That's what he told us. That's what he told us. He talked out of both sides of his mouth. He said, I don't support red flags. The way it's written. I don't support the way it's written. The way it's written. Yeah, they're always willing to take out a word and throw in a word, and then he'll support red flag gun seizure legislation. All I said to him, you guys saw it in the video, I said, you got to let your yes be yes and your no be no, Scott. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Because Scott Jensen, he filled out the Minnesota Gun Rights Candidate Survey in 2016. Chris and I met with him in a restaurant over in Chanhassen, and he promised in writing, on paper, with his signature, that he opposes and will vote against universal gun registration. He's a liar. So I read it off to him. I read the question to him, right there in front of the crowd and on camera. I said, here's the question. And he goes, well, you know, that word was missing there. This isn't technically universal gun registration. This is a little different. It kind of works a little bit different this way. I said, quit splitting hairs. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. He won't do it. He won't do it. I don't have it. I didn't print it off this time. So guys, this is where we are. This brings us up to date right now. We have universal background checks introduced in both the House and the Senate. We have red flag gun seizure legislation introduced in both the House and the Senate. We have anti-gun leftists pushing this stuff 100 miles an hour. And we have the weakest Republican Senate, I think, in America. This is not good. Not good at all. So, we got to fight, guys. We got to fight. We got to fight. Because at the end of the day, It's no bad thing to be loved by your friends and hated by your enemies. It's no bad thing. It's okay that politicians don't like us. It's okay that they attack us. It only makes us stronger. It drives more gun owners to this cause. And we're going to fight for our Second Amendment rights. So keep on the hate, politicians. Because here's the thing. We're moving away from gun rights a little bit right here, but our state is in big trouble. It's going farther to the left all the time. They're siphoning our tax dollars, hauling in busloads of people who are not, they're not American citizens. They don't love our Constitution. They don't love our founding fathers. They don't love our Second Amendment freedoms. Yeah, they do. Yes, they do. Our state is going left. And if we're not willing to fight for it, we're going to lose it. We're going to lose it. Minnesota Nice has no place in Minnesota politics whatsoever. So here, they're hauling these people in on your taxpayer dollars, taking your tax dollars. Oh, I know where my tax dollars went for the last 4 years. Got loaded into suitcases, shipped through the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport to Yemen and Somalia. So they bring in people. Many of them are not peaceful people. Crime is up. And what do they want to do about it? They want to take your guns. They want to take your guns. We say, hell no. Hell no. It is true. Not a lot of people in this building, I mean, present company excluded. These politicians, they don't like us. They trash talk us at every turn. They trash talk gun owners. If you hop on Kurt Dowd's Facebook page and ask him why he's been such a loser on the Second Amendment, he'll ban you instantly. He doesn't like gun owners. This is campaign fodder for many of these people. It's campaign fodder, nothing more. For us, it's life and death. It's our most cherished right. No more lip service. No more lip service. Because if we don't fight for our Minnesota, we're going to lose our Minnesota. And I'm going to fight all the way to the end, you guys. Are you with me? I love you. We already have the grassroots army. It's massive. It's huge. It's a massive grassroots army. We already have the army. You guys are pouring pressure on the politicians. They're squealing like little piggies, running all over the place, trying to get out from underneath the pressure. What we need now is somebody on the inside who's willing to fight for gun owners. We need a legislator who is willing to stand up against his own party leadership and fight for you, not the establishment. No more lip service. It's time for them to fight for us. And that, guys, that brings me to my next speaker here. This man's name is Jake Duesenberg. He's with Action for Liberty. Kurt Dowd hates his guts. The politicians hate his guts. Because this guy has been instrumental in many, many races at nabbing endorsements. He works with the North Star Liberty Alliance. They take their endorsements, they win the primaries, and they're booting rhinos out all over the place. And so, what this guy's going to talk about right here is candidate recruitment. That's what we need. We need somebody on the inside who is willing to fight for the Second Amendment, and that's what he's going to get up here and talk about. But until then, guys, make your phone calls, send your emails, sign the petitions, get in the face of your legislator at their eggs and issues, like we did in Chanhassen. Michelle was there. You guys heard from Michelle. Get in the face of your legislators and tell them to grow a titanium spine and fight for gun owners. If we play nice, we're going to lose. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. So put the pressure, mount the pressure on your legislators, send our action alerts to your friends, your neighbors, your family, anybody who's pro-gun. Make sure these messages are being sent here, because it is the only way that we are going to win. We got the fight of our lives on our hands, guys. Everything is hanging in the balance here. Our Second Amendment depends on your activism, on your action. Join us. Join with us. Now, we're not supposed to solicit memberships and stuff here. They get all upset with us if we talk about that stuff. But guys, check out our Facebook page when this is over. That's what I can say. Check out our Facebook page. Guys, we got to fight. We got to fight hard. We got to be unapologetic. We got to stand up for our rights, stand up for our freedoms. We got to band together as a grassroots army and oppose this gun control. Stand with us and fight. All right. Again, next up is Jake Duesenberg. Guys, if you got a titanium spine we're talking about, we need you here. If you're easily swayed, if you turn into one of the guys when you get around these politicians, don't run. Don't run. If you got guts, if you're tough, talk to Jake Duesenberg, talk to Action for Liberty. He's going to talk about it right now, guys. Thank you very much.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. How you doing? All right, so I've got a speech that I wrote. It's very elaborate. It's on the Constitution. What's so funny?
It's going to go long.
Paul Gazelka and Kurt Dowd did not approve it, so I can't give the speech. I'm sorry, that's how it works up here, right? That's how it works. You guys have learned a lot. I'm not going to talk about that kind of stuff. Ben is probably the most hated guy right now by Republicans at the Capitol. I'm probably about... This week, I think Michelle's second place. Usually I'm about first or second place. And you gotta wonder, I'm a nice guy. Why do they hate me? I'm really nice. Yeah, that's right. I fight. Yeah, exactly. You know, our organization, Action for Liberty, we want to promote the conservative agenda. We want to advance it at the Capitol. And when Republicans don't advance the conservative agenda, we call them out on it. You know? They don't like us for that. But we also take it a step further. We get them out of office. Do I have any rhino hunters out here? You like that? All right. Action for Liberty retired politicians like Tom Hackbarth in 2016 and Bob Lunan here in 2018. We've recruited great candidates. Eric Mortensen back there with American hat on. Awesome. We've got Cal Barr, Jeremy Monson, Shane Mecklin in office. Guys, everything we have done, we are going to double down in 2020. But you know what I need? I need candidates. I see some potential candidates in this audience here. So I've got my lovely assistant over there, Pam. It's really easy to find Pam. She's got a knife stabbed in her back as well. Go see Pam. She's got a clipboard if you have a little bit of interest in running for office. See, we're not always successful. We did lose a primary battle against Kurt Dowd in 2016. But Action for Liberty, we either win or we learn. And you know what we've learned? We've learned how to be more successful. We know how to equip and train candidates. We can make you a success. And you know what Ben Dorr needs up here at the Capitol? He needs a champion. If you are that champion, come see Pam, come see me. I want to have a conversation with you. That's my message today. That's it. I'm not going to go on and on. It's very simple. We need champions at the Capitol. Come see Pam or myself. Thank you. God bless you for coming out here on Saturday. Take care.
Oh, I could have used this bottle of water about 3 minutes ago. All right, guys, our last speaker. I know we're going a little bit over time. Thank you so much for coming out today on this beautiful Saturday. If there's one thing I've noticed in Minnesota politics is that oftentimes the women are the ones who are showing more testosterone than most of the men in this building. Not you guys, the politicians. I know many women in Minnesota always willing to stand up and fight for their rights, their freedoms, always encouraging people to get on board, not afraid to get involved, not afraid to get in the face of politicians. This next gal, her name is Sue Seifert. She and her husband have been sponsoring the NRA, Friends of NRA banquet for a long, long time. For a long, long time. They've been staunch supporters of the Second Amendment rights, of our gun rights and our freedom. Well, she learned about their support of red flag gun seizures. And, you know, she's got a few things to say about it. So, guys, Sue Seifert.
All right. I will be quick. Is that on? Oh, how's that?
You got to kiss that.
I'm not much into that. Well, we are really fortunate to have these guys with Minnesota Gun Rights doing all this research for us and making the information available to all of us. We need to use that information and go out and get other people to come out and help change minds and increase action defending the Second Amendment. You know, our system was never meant as a vehicle for career politicians or meant to achieve personal gain. I don't know about you, but I always laugh when I hear officials, whether they're elected or unelected, talk about their public service. Yeah. You all know the people who ran for town boards so they could get their road paved, and we all know about congressmen who run for office and they don't have much money, and then miraculously in Congress, after a few years, they're millionaires. They're elected because they have handlers telling them the right words to use to get us to trust that they're going to do what they say they're going to do. And these people, their words hardly ever match what they believe if they believe in anything. After they're sworn in, nothing happens, nothing changes, nothing is fixed, and the costs are always higher, and they always have more regulations. And that's because of a machine that was built by itself out of our negligence and apathy as voters, and I think we're kind of finally realizing that we need to start being more involved. We built this. Cronyism has replaced limited government with that you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. The politicians aren't even bothered to be embarrassed that they have ownership or stake in lobbyists or businesses that ask for favors for government. They're not even embarrassed by it. And we sit there and watch it, and we need to start holding them accountable for it. Politics and integrity has been so divorced that voters simply expect officials to be dishonest, and that is really disgusting that we do. How often do you hear something and you just kind of think, yeah, well, he's a politician. We need to stop that. The desire by people who run for office to be liked, wield power, and garner respect is absolutely intoxicating, and many of them easily fall prey to that. And those are the same people that you'll hear who complain about the tactics of Minnesota gun rights. Calling out a representative for lying or not holding to their word is not a tactic. It's called holding people accountable. And so here's what's crucial. We need to make sure that our representatives know that if they stand with us on our gun rights, Second Amendment, holding fast on those ridiculous plans they have, and stick with Minnesota gun rights, that they're going to have an army of active support behind them. All they have to do is three things. When they say something, they need to mean it, and they mean it when they say it. If they like what they... If they say they're going to do something, they need to do it. And the other thing is they need to grow a backbone like those of us who... We know there's people who don't like us because of what we stand for. But you know what? If I'm standing for the right thing, I really don't care if you don't like me. There is very little that is actually fun about being publicly involved in politics. I've been a town supervisor and I ran a campaign against a school bond. Try that sometime. That's a joy. It's hard to stand out there and say things that people don't want to hear. And it's usually because they're being reminded that they're not standing for anything and that they're weak, and they don't like to be reminded of that. Our country needs a principled class of constituents that encourage and force their officials to be accountable, and that's us. And that's what we do by sending the emails and making the calls and telling them, hey, this is what you said when I elected you. Why aren't you doing it now? It's really uncomfortable. It's not fun to go out there and be public, but you need to encourage your friends and families to do it. And once you do it and show them that you don't care if you're not liked, maybe they'll realize that it doesn't hurt to not be liked. Besides, who wants to be liked by people who are unprincipled that you don't respect? Who cares? I'm here for the Second Amendment rights. It's important to remember that the Second Amendment is the only one that holds all the other ones to us. We lose that one. Any of us who has read a history book or looks around, we know that once the guns are gone, the other stuff's going pretty quick too.
Should have said.
So watch the Minnesota gun rights videos. You need to learn the information that they have, get it in your head, learn how to articulate it, make sure that you can spread it around and use it with people who argue with you. They've done that hard work. We have a long road ahead of us. The Democrats, unfortunately, are not our only obstacle. We have a bunch of leftist Republicans that are doing the same thing, and we need to start pointing them out and making sure everybody knows it. Your friends. These Republicans, unfortunately, have groups that are running top cover for them by giving them endorsements and saying, oh, this is the guy, he's really going to stand for your rights. Beware of those endorsements, and you need to make sure you know just because it has gun in the title doesn't mean that they're necessarily for your gun rights. Ben mentioned that I was the chair of a Friends of NRA banquet for many years, and we've had a really great committee, and we've had a great time doing the banquet. And earlier this month, and yes, I should have done this research a long time ago, but we became aware of the Chris Cox video from last spring, and I went through it and tried to find something that he had rescinded that. No such luck. It has not been. And we went to the NRA's own site. And when I called the NRA, the first thing they said is, oh, yeah, you've got a bunch of gun groups in Minnesota telling you the wrong stuff. And I said, no, I went to Chris Cox's video that's still out there and your own web page that says that red flag laws, it really doesn't sound like you're so much against them. If you read through that, it certainly sounds like they're open for discussion. And I said that's absolutely unacceptable. My committee and I decided we're not going to go out and ask people to donate money and have to defend that. We're not doing it. So I guess I'll have a little extra time for myself this spring. I won't be doing all that stuff. So go out and I would encourage you to make sure you go out and volunteer with your local gun groups and kids and make sure our culture is out there. And the last thing is, remember the swamp dwellers, the cronyists, and the lobbyists are not going to give this up very easily. They've had a pretty good run going for quite a while, and it's going to be very difficult for us to make inroads into that. But you go out and you get some friends, teach people that it's fun to be disliked. It's okay. So go out and do it.
It's okay to be disliked, she said. More truth in that statement than I've heard from any hundreds of politicians in this building. Well, that's what we got, guys. That's what we got. I got a couple of notes here at the end. Your videos, your pictures, whatever you took, send them to us. Facebook message them to us, or post them in the discussion part of the events page on our Facebook page. Email them to us. I don't care. Get us those pictures, get us those videos so we can broadcast them everywhere. Please do that. You know, we heard some good stuff today. We heard some bad stuff today. But I'll tell you, the days of politicians taking free swings at gun owners in Minnesota are over. Minnesota gun rights is never going away, and we will always tell the truth, we will always keep you informed, and we will never compromise, ever. If you like that, and if you're not already a part of this grassroots army, go to joinmgr.com. JoinMGR.com. Get involved! Get involved! All right, guys. I don't want to break this up. Can we go for another 2 hours? No? All right. No. Guys, thank you so much for coming out. Thank you for fighting for our gun rights. Drive safe. God bless you. God bless Minnesota. And God bless America.
antidepressants is what's pulling their fucking shit. It's not the kids, it's the doctors. The doctors need to be accountable for stopping obsessing and compulsively overdosing society on purpose. Well, the doctors don't need it. It's the fucking guys that are chasing it with electronic money laundering and stuff like that. Kid that is the cash cow. I mean, that's politics we don't talk about facts. You're just talking about persuasive. The problem is, and I got thousands of emails talking about every shooting in our school. Anti-person related to then 911 operators answer every single call. Does anybody have that?
Yeah. You good, Jack?
Yeah, thanks.
What he's changed from is probably have a lot of friends on the friend me, but I don't really care because it's too fucking long. I've been really involved in politics the last year. peaceful protest.
Keep in touch. Let's go shoot.
Let's do that. So then I just got a shield on the tube. The Crimson Trace.
Is that Apple?
No. Android, why?
Because I just got a new Apple phone. I
don't know anything about Apples.
I got an Apple phone and I just got an iPad.
If you have Android, I can help you, but I don't know.
I have no idea how to use this shit. I've got to set up Force Light on my iPad so I can take it flying. I take it to the plane, but I don't know. It's scary. Yeah. It's scary.
I don't do small planes. My dad used to have one years ago. Hey, nice to see you again. Hi. Nice to see you. Hi. No, you're good. You're the mom with like 8
Should
kids,
say my
right?
mom carries me and
Wait,
my
what's your name?
I'm Anna. I'm Beth's wife.
Oh, okay. I'm Patty Messenger. There's another mom.